Hey beauties, so I received a email in response to the CPTSR Mind Parasites and Wetiko video, and within the beautiful email that a dear sister has sent, I'm not going to name her name just in case she's not comfortable with me sharing the specific question from it. She knows that I'm making a video, but I'll create the anonymity. I always struggle with that word. So anyway, the question is, would you be able to shine some light on whether or not it is necessary to go back to the moment you first felt that emotion type of trauma, the fight or flight? I find I have put up so many blocks over the years and cannot fully remember, but then I keep questioning, is it actually necessary to do this, or can I simply put into practice more mindfulness and tuning into my boundaries on an energetic level? So she's interested in hearing my thoughts with respects to this. So I started crafting a pretty lengthy email response to this, and then I was like, hang on a second, I should totally create a video from this, because if one person is thinking this and writing to me, then perhaps other people that have seen the video might have the same questions, or perhaps, I just haven't vocalized it. So just to reiterate, this is with respects to, is it necessary to go back into the emotion or the story to for that healing to take place? Now, first and foremost, my personal perspective is that I don't like to create limitations on healing, that I like to connect with our infinite potential to heal ourselves in wild and miraculous ways. And for me to say that, this is the only way to heal would be disrespectful for me to even be able to speak that from some type of authority perspective, because let's face it, healing happens in different ways for different people, and what works for me might not work for you, and that's totally okay. So coming from that perspective, when we can unhook from any of the confines, limitations, or restrictions that are placed around healing or our ability to heal ourselves, then we allow ourselves the creative potential to connect with our power, to claim our sovereignty, and that that you get to choose what's best for you. You get to choose. You get to create your beliefs and to shape your reality around your beliefs of what is possible for you to experience in your body. So with that, if you choose to focus on your ability to heal, resolve any of those old traumas, sacred woundings, ancestral imprints, whatever it is, if you allow yourself the opportunity to heal that in the moment, if you were just like, right, bang, done, it's totally up to you, and you are within your own creative power as a sovereign being to be able to choose that for yourself. But here's the thing that I want to speak to with respects to that. So yeah, we totally have this amazing potential to choose, to create our reality, to create the feelings that we want within our body, that we get to choose our state of being. You get to choose what's right for you, how you want to feel in your body, how you want to wake up each morning, what your energetic state is each day, consistently checking in. You get to choose what your energetic blueprint is. You get to choose where your soul's path and direction is leading you to. You get to choose the time frame for your healing. You get to choose the ways in which you heal as well. So that but is not to create an excuse or to undermine that in any way. It's to add but there's this to factor in as well. And that is to get to that state, from my experience and perspective, and you may or may not resonate with this, so I'll speak to what I know is truth for me, and you can just go with that, yeah? From my perspective, to get to that state of commanding your reality, to be that reality hacker, there is an initiation of shadow work that comes with it, that from my experience, I have had to journey through some incredibly intense fires of transformation. I have died so many times, died again and again and again. I have died to the old wounds. I have died to the old self and transformed and alchemized the energy from that to step into my creative power. When I take women on experiential journey work, so deep medicine work, so, you know, it's often dubbed by other people as primal, shamanic, like deep earth magic, right? For me, I'm just doing my thing. So when I take women on that level, what I find is interesting for me, more importantly than going into the emotion and the feeling and trying to extract it and, you know, embody it all over again. More importantly for me, from my perspective as a facilitator, is to connect with the theme of the story behind it. Because it's not actually about the emotion. The emotion is the byproduct of the story, the narrative, the subconscious belief. So the thing about trauma, and I've said this many times, and I will keep reiterating this because I see it so clearly. I've experienced it, and I can see it play out in many different, transformational healing practices where people don't understand the scope of trauma. There is a very delicate plane of doing this work. And if you're going to be going into the trauma work and going back into story, into memory, so you're accessing the limbic system, if you're going into those sacred woundings, it is imperative, first and foremost, that you enter it from a perspective of curiosity, that you're not going in there to beat yourself up all over again. Because if you go in and you connect with the emotion, and that you're meant to totally stir up all the fucking muck, to feel it all over again, what you can do is re-traumatize yourself. Because trauma, and our experience of trauma, the mind cannot differentiate between then and now. So you will have those same parasympathetic experiences. Your guts will probably start to go. You'll probably start to get those anxious sweats, like as if whatever happened in the past is meant to be happening. Where we don't have those memories, why force yourself to try and connect with something that can be so severely traumatic? What's the point? Sometimes our brain compartmentalizes things for a reason. And that by you digging into the depths of your psyche, if there is something that has been so severely traumatic for you, to actually relive it here and now may not serve you, and it may not be your path to healing. Now, I learned this was a beautiful lesson I experienced in ayahuasca circle once. Beautiful sister beside me had a very severely traumatic past. And in her medicine journey, as she'd shared, the themes that come up from her to be confronted with, to heal, she was wondering why she didn't have this intense, visceral experience of whatever it is. She had no images, no nothing, but there was an energetic purge. And I'll never forget what she shared, because it just opened up a new realm of possibility for healing. And that was, she had realized in that moment that she didn't need to revisit the trauma. She didn't need to relive any of the violent imagery or feelings in the body, that her body could simply release the story and the imprint of it. And this is what I want to share with respects to you connecting with your power to heal the way that you want to heal. Yes, it does take mindfulness work. Yes, it does take deep shadow work and embodiment practice as well. And it is totally doable. For people that have experienced severe abuse and trauma, where it's fractured the soul. There are soul fragments there. To guide somebody into reanimating that on a holographic level, it feeds power back into the story. Now, this kind of branches back into, as I mentioned in the previous video, with respects to the holographic kinetics work. And that is with respects that once you resolve that trauma, that imprint, that story, once you've cleared that up, you've reprogrammed it and created the new, that you don't keep speaking those same stories, so that you're not anchoring them or projecting them into your field again. And that it is totally possible to let go and then not have to go back there. Yeah. And that can be paradigm shifting for some people, that you actually get to choose to close those doors, those energetic boundaries. That if you're like, you know what, this story doesn't serve me, I've been through it, I've walked through the fire, I've been through the abuse, the violation, the whatever intense experience of that wounding, that you're not prepared to carry the stories or the imprints for that anymore, and that you choose to separate yourself here and now from that. And that there's many different modalities that you can use to create that. Or it could be as simple as going into ceremony and ritual for yourself, cutting those etheric cords, pulling them out, yeah, and claiming that sovereign expression. This can be unnerving, though, I will caution that with this work, because if you've been connected to this thread, this story, which has shaped your identity into any type of victim consciousness, when our power is given over to the story, that the story becomes so consuming that it melds with us, yeah, that we become it becomes us, it's a part of our identity, when the reality is it's not, it's just a story, an experience that happened to us, it's not us, yeah. When you unhook from that, when you actually find what works for you to let go, that feels right for you, so that many different emotional alchemy practices, it could be working with a therapist, it could be deciding to do radical self-love and giving back to yourself, it could be simply just fucking slamming that door and never looking back, and just choosing to fake it till you make it, in that sense of, no, this is what I want my reality to be, and this is what I'm going to create, and that you get to choose your reality tunnel. And that sometimes within the confines and context of healing, when you're pulling yourself out of that, you go from one reality tunnel to the next. It can be extremely beneficial for your health and well-being to just focus on that, one thing, to put your blinkers on everything else that's a distraction or that reminds you of those old stories and wounds and triggers, yeah? But when you finally feel like you're letting go, disconnecting from the story, it can be incredibly painful. It can be so scary and unnerving, because all of a sudden, and this is what I've experienced, you're like, well, who am I? Who am I without this story? Who am I if I'm not that? And that I'm disconnected from that. Like, who am I? What am I? What has become of me? And this is where we can embody the medicine of any of our pain, that there is medicine in it, and we can choose to take the wisdom and the lessons from it, integrate it, embody it unashamedly, that we begin to own that story. In the sense, what I mean by that, by owning the story, is that, yep, such and such happened to me. Whether you remember the extent of it or not, you'll connect with the threads and the pathways. Yes, I was abused. Yes, this happened to me. That was an experience that I went through. But that is not me. It's something that happened in the past. And that who I am, who you are, is totally up to you to define. But first, it takes unhooking from those stories, especially when we're speaking with respects to the complex post-traumatic stress response. And when we're speaking about mind parasites and Wetiko, it is witnessing and observing that energy as it hijacks, as that virus runs through our system to take our power away, when we begin to pull ourselves back from it. The fundamental principle of magic is when you call something by its true name, you can command the power of it. So when you connect with who you are and everything that you have experienced, and you call all those threads in and claim your power, and you claim yourself as a sovereign being, when you call yourself by your true name, then you come into the seat of the soul and you're in control. And when you can call things for as they are, those experiences that happen to you, whatever they are, you then unhook from the grips that those stories, that trauma, that emotional blocks, tension, restrictions, limitations have upon you, because you see them for what they are and you create that separation, that there's no merging or fusion of you being bound to that anymore. Yeah, because in essence, all life is relationship. And when we come into the mindfulness practices, as I mentioned in the previous video, that checking in with, where's my energy? Where's my energy? Where am I? What am I projecting? What am I feeding? What stories am I creating? When we call ourselves into the moment, into the power of the moment, and we realize what we're creating, then we are more focused on creating magic and beauty and bliss and joy and abundance and all of the goodness that sometimes we forget that we have the ability to create, and that we forget that it's actually our birthright, and that we're in this great remembering together to come back to that state of being, your natural sovereign state of being, which is completely in the moment, connected, clear, confident, creative, beautiful, radiant, caring, kind, compassionate, like all of the most amazing, beautiful qualities that also feeds into being proactive and fierce. And it allows you to stand with integrity to do what you need to do that is right for you and in complete alignment for your growth as a whole being. And the sooner that you remember that you are whole and that you are perfect, doesn't matter what the fuck happened in the past, tune in to how perfect you actually are, and that you remember that you've only got one life. And that how long do you want to spend investing in these stories that you've got to continually heal? Because I'm here to tell you that I've gone down that route before. Like, it's an inherent a part of my nature, being that anoretic Scorpio, like that 29-degree Scorpio is like the most Scorpio that you can get, that deep underworld magic, shadow work, healing, trauma, like journeying into the sewage of the human condition. Like, that's like my archetypal fluency. Like, that's the language that I know. And what I've had to learn is that has been incredibly addictive, constantly feeding into this this belief that I've got to continually heal or something's always wrong with me. Yeah. And when I allowed to claim my power back, even from those stories, I could begin to enjoy my life. And that, healing happens. Transformational healing happens. There will be spaces and times and places for you to do the work, to embody your medicine and to connect with your magic and to work through some really deep stuff, to alchemize the pain and turn it into a gift that you can then share with other people. But there also comes a point where you can go, you know what? I'm done for a while. I'm actually pretty good. And that's a really good space to be in. And in respects to transformational healing and even trauma, it can be a really challenging space to sit in if you've always felt like something was wrong, or you always felt like you had work to do. And that's why I don't ever want to create or encourage the belief that healing only happens, XYZ kind of way. And what I want to encourage and inspire in each and every one of you is that you get to choose. And that the more you do your work, that inner work with connecting with yourself and moving through the stuff that has taken your power away, the areas where we're a little bit ashamed, where we feel a little bit guilty, the grief that resides in our body, the rage from injustice or any of the other stuff happening out, or even happening on the collective level or the ancestral level, that we can experience those states of being. And I think that, where I'm kind of going on my journey at the moment, and even processing all of this stuff with respects to complex post-traumatic stress response, which is a natural response for your body to deal with trauma, is to create the pathways within myself, within my being, to embody it, learn it, embody that wisdom, to emulate it, and to be a living example that you can heal yourself, and that no matter how fucked up shit has been in the past, you can be free from that, and it can happen in your lifetime, and that it is totally possible. When we connect with our expansive potential as creative beings, when we connect with spirit, when we connect with the land and nature and allow the Great Mother to call us home, and to disconnect from the world, the paradigm, the indoctrinated perspective of society that seeks to keep us in a state of perpetual slavery. Yeah, because when people claim their power back, they're a threat to the system. As you begin to think beyond the status quo, you begin to see things differently, you begin to connect with your power and your creative energy, and you begin to see ways in which you can share that with others and help other people connect. And just to quickly kind of, I'm just like seeing that matrix analogy, of we're all in this together. The reason why I put myself out there and I share what comes through me, and I keep showing up even though sometimes I'm tired or scared or whatever crazy narratives I have, is because we all need to help each other. We all need to inspire each other. We all need to encourage each other to connect with our inner power, our creativity, our joy, and our bliss, and our radiance, and our beauty, and our proactive ability to invest in a world that we love, that is inspiring, that creates common unity in community, so that we're planting those seeds now for the future generations. And I know that this is the important work of the times because of the prevalence of mental health issues and depression and the suicide rates. This is all a byproduct of a system that is not in alignment with natural law, of a system that is disconnected from the natural world, from a system that has been corrupted with that mind parasite, that parasitic energy and virus that moves through the psyche of the individual and the collective. And that we've got to every single day, multiple times a day, check in. Check in. How are you? Check into your body. Love your body. Tune in to what emotions are being stored, what tension's being stored, what fears you have. And rather than like going, ooh, I don't want to look at that, face it. Because if you face it, you don't feed the monster. You face it head on. You go, I see you. I see you. You might be shaking in your boots, but it's like, I see you there. And the more you get to know it, the less power it has to control you, because the less you will fear it. And that's why education is so powerful. And that's why storytelling is a powerful medicine. And why I encourage everybody to connect and to share their stories that help other people find ways through. So I'm going to wrap this up. I know that was kind of going on some other wild tangents, and I could probably talk for many, many hours, weaving through all different facets, but I am very respectful and mindful of your time as well. So thank you, beautiful sister, for your question. You know who you are. I love reading your emails when you reply. I love reading all of your emails when I write my blogs or the videos and stuff. And it's just such a joy to see that the message reaches those that need to hear it, and that just to have that encouragement as well. It's so beautiful to be able to receive your words and your support. It fills me up with inspiration and creativity to go, oh, okay, what's coming through now? So much love and many blessings to you. And remember, please reach out and connect within the Facebook group. I would like to create some more fresh dialogue around these types of themes so that we can all explore it together. I don't want this to be an echo chamber just of my stuff, because you all have something valuable to offer, this valuable wisdom to express and to share, and that when we all come together and share our different perspectives and ways of viewing it, we have a more of a complete picture of these experiences that we're all collectively feeling as well. So